Hi, my name is Jeff Morris, and I'm the president of the board for Mary Shelter, and I want to welcome all of you to the 25th anniversary celebration of this incredible organization. Granted, it's a little unique this year as we're doing it online. I wish we were sitting in a room together and celebrating all the great things that Mary Shelter has provided to our community. We'd be sitting with our staff and our volunteers and our wonderful donors and everyone that has contributed in some way to Mary Shelter over the last 25 years. I hope you enjoy the stories you're going to hear today. There's some pretty powerful ones from our staff and our volunteers and of course our clients and the mothers who have and kids who have benefited from this great organization. And importantly, I do hope everyone else also, considers donating to this. I think as you'll see, we've done so many great things over the years, but none of it is possible without the financial contributions from people like you enjoying this 25th celebration tonight.
My name is Chris, and I am the Executive Director of Mary Shelter. I have been the Executive Director for the last 20 years, although I started with the organization 25 years ago before we opened our doors. I was actually a volunteer and then a board member and just fell in love with the idea of what this organization was going to do for young women in the community. The woman who started it, her name is Jan Lindsay, and it was her vision and desire to really help young women move forward in their lives. So young women who are pregnant and homeless really needed a hands-on, very proactive organization that was going to help them to better their lives, to get an education, to get employment, to learn the skills to be a good mother. When Jan started our program, the first director's name was Sister Mary Ann, and she was a one-man show. She lived through all the renovations of the building, the opening of the building in 1995, and that first year, she did everything. And we were able to help 9 young women, and we were thrilled. The next director who came was Sister Joanna and Sister Eileen, and the two of them working together really started to formalize the program. From that point on, with the 3 of us working together, the organization began to really flourish and really grow. We started out with just the maternity home services on South 12th Street, and then we opened Mary's Home, which is a transitional living program located on Upland Avenue. With those 2 buildings, we were able to help young ladies not just from the point of pregnancy, but then also through to completing their education. We started a scholarship fund, and we made a connection with Alvarino University, and to date we have over 25 college graduates. So those are young ladies who were homeless at one point and now have degrees where they're independent, self-sufficient, contributing members of our community. In fact, it was probably about our 15th anniversary when our first graduate came back to one of our fundraising events and raised over $2,100 for the organization because she wanted to give back. And that's just a tremendous accomplishment for her and for us. When I took over as the executive director and we were again looking for another building, we happened to get a notification that the old Naval Marine Reserve Center on Kenhurst Boulevard was going to be an option for a homeless service provider. I happened to be on vacation that week, so I sent Danny in my place.
I was a therapist for women's counseling services, and I would take a lot of the referrals that came in through Mary Shelter. Chris had asked me if I would be willing to come on full time, and I absolutely loved everything the organization did, what it stood for, and how it worked with its clients, and it really fit within the core of my belief system of working with the residents right where they're at.
The buildings before were about 5,000 square feet. This building that we're in now is 37,000 square feet. And we were able to double our residential capacity And we knew at that point that we'd be able to really increase our community outreach. Well, our community outreach has actually tripled since we've been here.
My name is Shia, and I lived with Mary Shelter in 2005. I was 23, had my daughter at 24 in 2006. I was homeless, I was bouncing around place to place, doing a job that probably shouldn't have been doing, so that pregnancy led me here to them. And I heard about it through my sister and one of my cousins that stayed here very briefly. They were there more than family was, to help me. They gave me a place to stay. They helped me with my daughter. They helped me get in school, helping them get on their feet, staying with their doctor's appointments. And being it was my first child, I didn't really have much experience with kids, so I didn't know. And they pretty much turned me into a woman. They never left my side. They never stopped dealing with me, even though I made a very bad decision. And through all these years, they stuck with me. They invited me to benefits, and because they seen that I changed my life around. I lost my job, and they came back into my life and offered me to do Ubering and things for the children. So I did that for a couple months, and then all of a sudden they just asked me if I wanted a job. And I'm like, yes, and now here we are. And I love it. I absolutely love it. It's the best thing that could have ever happened to me and my children. And I plan on retiring from this job. Because I like helping people. I got a big heart. When they put me into this position, this was it. This is where I was supposed to be. And I love getting up and coming to work every day. I run the pantry. I work with low-income families outside of here. Usually a lot of single mothers and their children. Some of them do have spouses and things like that, but they're all low-income people that can't afford diapers and wipes and clothing, basic needs for their babies and their kids. And I help them out with that. I think that's one of the reasons why I do it, because of the situation that I was in, not having much help from anybody on the streets and whatnot. So I feel like I could give that back to somebody.
We were in our last year of the renovations, getting ready to move into the building when all of the reports came out in Berks County about the number of homeless kids, homeless youth. And it was staggering. The number was like 1,500 homeless kids in Berks County. Young people who are homeless between the ages of 14 and 17 will make some really poor decisions in order to have a place to sleep at night. So if we could get to this group of young people, before that ever happened, we'd actually be providing a proactive and preventative way of helping young people really stay in school and stay on track. We went to our community of supporters, our faith-based community, and our businesses, and they all said yes, that they would support this program. And then we applied for funding through the Runaway and Homeless Youth federal grant program, and everything that they heard about Mary Shelter's program for our pregnant young women was exactly what they wanted us to do with the homeless youth. And they provided us with a 3-year grant.
The value of having the residential program, what it does is it offers security to a person ages 14 to 17 that has no other option at that point. We could have a young person coming through our door who hasn't eaten in 2 or 3 days. We could have a young person coming through our door who's like, I can't stay at home anymore because of the term of whatever's going on there. We don't know the stress of the person. That's what's happening with the person that's coming to us. We just know that every young person that comes through our door is unique and their story is unique.
We actually weren't even supposed to open yet when we got a call about a young man who was living out on the streets. It was February, and it was going to be -3 degrees that night, and they were very concerned about him. I actually said to the school guidance counselor, I said, just let me call you back in 5 minutes. I need to go talk with my program director. And as I got down to Danny's office, she was actually just getting off the phone, and I heard her say, give me 5 minutes and let me call you back. She had actually just gotten a call from a different school about a young girl who was living in a car with her father. We both looked at each other and just started laughing. We said, we got to talk to the staff, and I think we're ready to open early. How they become homeless. Everybody always asks us the question, how does somebody become homeless? That young man was 17 years old. He woke up that one morning and thought he was going downstairs like he normally would for school, and he finds a note on the table that said, "We've moved out. Landlord needs you out by 5. Good luck." It's a note from his mother. That day he packed whatever he could into his duffel bag and his backpack, and he had actually been living on the streets for 2 weeks before the school guidance counselors contacted us. When the young man arrived, he had a box of cold cereal with him, because apparently cereal travels well when you're living on the streets. The young lady, of no fault of his own, her father lost his job, and they had just been living in their car, traveling around. And that's when the school called us about her as well. So at that point, we knew that it was meant to be.
My name's Melissa Lawley, formerly Melissa Gebhard. My daughter is Michaela Gebhard. She's 19. So that means that I went to Mary Shelter in 2000 when I was 17 years old. And then I had her April of 2001. So I became emancipated at 15, signed all my own documents to get into school and go through schooling. And, when I went to school full time and I was working part time, found out I was pregnant and was, alone, lost, had no idea where to go, no idea where to really turn to. When I came into Mary Shelter and when I found Mary Shelter, I felt like I was more concerned about my pregnancy and concerned. I knew that I wanted to be safe. I knew I needed to find somewhere safe because I didn't really have that. So I needed somewhere that I could go, not only to live and to live at, but also to have the support and the stability and guidance as to, well, what do I do now?
So we give them an opportunity to come into our program, and we look at everything from their education to reunification. Is it a safe reunification? Is it something that's possible? We look at what we need to do to help them become successful.
After I found out about the strict schedules, the curfews, the cleaning assignments, all the things that you need to do just to be a household member, and I was a little taken back. But once you get into the routine, you realize that the routine is there to establish that stability for yourself and to establish a routine for yourself, as well as being able to, this is how you have to be in the real world.
I had a maternity client a few years ago who I was noticing, like, every morning she would run out to her car and open her trunk and get her stuff, and she'd come back in. And I said to her, "Hey, what's going on? Do you need help moving your stuff in?" "Oh, no, I'm going to keep my stuff in my trunk." And I said, "Well, how come? How come you're not going to move it into the building?" And she said, "Because when you kick me out, I'm going to move back into my home." And I said, well, I don't understand. And she said, "Well, my car's always been my secondary home ever since I was young." She said, if you had a car, you had a place to be, you had a place to live. And that was heartbreaking for me.
So that also was a good benefit to being, at Mary Shelter and being within the home, and you have a home setting. You have the camaraderie of having other women that are pregnant at different stages that you can talk to and find out what are they going through, what are they feeling. I'm at 4 months pregnant, but you're 6 months. Well, what am I going to have to deal with when I get to 6 months? And you have somebody who is going through the same things and the same changes as you're going through that you can kind of bounce those feelings off of.
I think one of the biggest things that we do is we make sure that their basic needs are met. So when we're looking at our residents and our clients, and we're looking at new people coming through the door, we're looking at people who don't have those essential or basic needs met all of the time.
We had a young man, again, a 17-year-old, who we got a call from the school that he was going to be homeless in the next 2 days.
And what they were saying was that he has no parental contact. There's no parents involved.
His school attendance was very poor. He rarely showered or changed his clothing. and they weren't sure what was going to happen to him.
He came here, and on his first day, he had his hood up, very solemn, was just not very receptive. So we started talking to him, and he would answer, but you could tell he was very scared, because nobody wakes up one morning and says, "Oh, I can't wait to be homeless to move into Mary's Shelter." There's not one person in the world that does that.
We took that young man that day, and we usually let the kids settle in for the first day or so. But what we noticed was that he wasn't coming out of his room. I mean, he'd come out of his room for dinner and for classes and to go to school, but then whenever there wasn't an activity going on, he was right back in his room.
I can remember meeting with him and saying to him, "What's going on? Don't you want to be out? We're fun. We laugh a lot. We have a good time."
He actually admitted to us that he had never had his own room. And he thought that whole space was just his. That room was just for him, and he was thrilled. You see, where he was living, for the family to make ends meet, they would rent out the bedroom that he should have been sleeping in to strangers a week at a time.
He finally had a place where he was a little bit more stable, and he felt very secure and safe, and he was just kind of enjoying that area that he could live in. He came with us. We got him started back at school. We got everything he needed. He started to socialize more, make friends. Even the school district was commenting on how they seen such a big difference in this kid. And he became student of the quarter. He brought all his grades up. He graduated. He gone to college. I mean, everything that you can possibly hope for your own child, this child is doing, and he is succeeding, and he is amazing.
So we got a call from the director of Reading Hospital's clinic, and he said, "I have a young lady here, and you are going to take her into your program, because where she's living, they're not feeding her." And all he wanted us to do was feed her for the next 4 months, because the twins at this point, they were expecting to be only 2 pounds. When the young lady got to our program, the last thing that she bought was a bag of oranges. She was just thrilled with the educational opportunity that was also part of the program. So learning to manage her own apartment, learning to manage her own budget, she was just like a little sponge taking everything in. When she actually delivered, we got another call from the director, and both babies were over 5 pounds and very healthy. For our young people, when they come to see us, a place to sleep and food to eat is the most important thing for them when they first get here. Every young lady who comes to the program, and even our youth who now come to the program, know that staying in high school or completing their high school diploma or their GED is a requirement of the program. So this one year I get a phone call from a young lady, and she says, "Hey, Chris, do you remember me?" I thought to myself, boy, do I remember you. As the time went by, when she was with us, she was supposed to go to RAC to start her GED classes. And the day she was supposed to go to her first class, she absolutely threw herself down that I am not going to school. Finally, by the end of the day, she told us her story. In 10th grade, a teacher had made fun of her for not being able to read. And that day she walked out of school and vowed that she would never go back. We got her through her GED program. She got a CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant certificate, and had the baby and actually moved out into her own apartment. Her daughter was in kindergarten, and she went to meet the teacher night and saw all those little sign-up sheets and things that you could sign up to do. And she said, "Guess what I signed up for?" She signed up to be a reading mom. I mean, she could have done anything. She could have made cupcakes. But she wanted to make sure that nobody else ever had the same experience she did, not being able to read.
We look at what they want to be when they grow up. A lot of times they're not asked that question. And so they don't really feel they have the opportunity opportunity to be able to expand their educational path.
Not only the support system of somebody physically being there and having a roof over my head and food in my belly, but having the emotional support, saying, and the encouragements, having somebody in your corner saying, hey, you got this, you're doing good, and even just like, hey, I got my diploma, like, now I'm gonna cry. That was very, very important to me, was to be able to not only have my daughter there, but be able to walk down the aisle and across that stage and get my diploma with my daughter there and knowing, hey, we did this, we got this, we're good.
We're going to be their biggest cheerleaders. We're going to cheer them on. We celebrate every small success. We throw parties for the big successes. And I remind them that it's not just us. It's not just the staff members who are here, but there's a whole world of people out there who can be that positive influence for them.
I think one of the reasons that I have been with Mary Shelter for 21 years is because I am able to work with clients here in a very compassionate, loving, and patient way. And everybody follows that philosophy. We build our client care on compassion, empathy, and we want our clients to be able to feel like they're living in a home, that they have a home-like environment. And we want them to feel like they're safe and they're secure and that they never have to go without as long as they're living in our program.
But with Mary Shelter and with the community, I was able to get a sofa. I was able to get a kitchen table. I was able to get a crib for my daughter so that she had a safe place to sleep in.
If you're a good-hearted, good-natured person, you're gonna see that there's a lot of families out here that are in need. And I appreciate the community too for what they do for these people. It's not just me, it's them too, And it's more the people who are more fortunate that give than anything. I've even helped like a couple teens that I know on the street to encourage them to come here and so they can do better, like do something different than just being out here on the streets. I'm very, very grateful for them, for me and for everybody else.
With, the stories that Mom has told, with the stories that, she has shared, the pictures that I've seen and how I've seen her grow and how I've grown because of the lessons that she's learned, it's a wonderful place. So we definitely want to thank everybody for everything that has been provided, not only to myself, that I was able to give to, for myself and for my daughter, and help us grow, but the continued support to be able to help all of the people that are living here now, not only the women and their children, but also the youth that are now coming into the new programs that we're developing. So we definitely want to thank you for all of your support and all of your, your outreach that you've provided to us and all your continued support that we hope to have in the future.
I can't promise them smooth sailing for the rest of their lives, but I can promise them that Mary Shelter's going to be here whenever they need us moving forward, whether it's 5 days from now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now, they can contact us and we're going to be here and we're going to help them through any of those trials and tribulations and be the best support system we can be for them.
For those of you who've been here at Mary Shelter Kenhorst, you've seen how this wonderful complex that we have and the two great wings that never would have come to be without the generous support of all of you. What a lot of you may not know is downstairs we have even more space, and there are mothers and children and homeless youth throughout Berks County that could benefit from us expanding there. And so we're looking into doing so and raising money and finding volunteers and others to help us do that so we can reach out and help more children and more families and more moms here in Berks County. So please, if you can, if you have a few dollars to spare, please consider donating to this incredible cause, and we'd love to be able to help others here in need.